Okay, we're going to go ahead and pick up where we left off yesterday and continuing to work on our front end for this app. And so I have my back end booted up and my front end booted up. And the first thing I noticed when I changed to my laptop is that my login form is formatted how I wanted. Probably meant that I had something cached yesterday, and had I cleared out my cache and refreshed the browser, that it would have looked like this. So I think this is what I would have expected yesterday, even though it wasn't this. But if I kind of put something invalid in, we get the email or password are incorrect. But if I put something good in, it redirects us and pulls data out of the database and displays that data. One thing eventually to fix is if we refresh this, we get a different error message, which is request failed with status code 401. We want to save this login credential on the front end, so you no longer get this error message just by refreshing. Something else is when you're logged in, maybe a little button over here that says log out. Is something else we could do. And then finally, we want to start editing or potentially deleting records. And so there's a fair amount of work that could be done. Another thing to kind of work on is right now, if you leave everything blank, we get this response from the server, but we might want to do some front-end validation as well, so that we can't actually contact the server if our data doesn't meet some requirements on the front end. And so plenty to work on. And so maybe what we start is with the login or log out button. And so luckily we have a nav bar, and in the app, ultimately, if a user has logged in, we've used this hook called auth, and we've put data inside of it. So we can kind of use this variable, and if there's data in the variable, then we can show a log out button, because we know the user has authenticated. But if there's not data in the variable, then we show a login button, kind of thing. And so it's just basically, is there data there? Show one thing. If not, show something else. And then maybe, getting this in our nav bar, I think, wouldn't be too hard. It shouldn't be too hard to get it over off to the right. So let's go to the docs and see if there's nav bar. I think there's something to align it on the right-hand side, if I'm remembering. If not, we could do some so just looking here at the different nav bar options. Well, let's get it working without the placement first, and then we can worry about moving it. So inside of navbar, if not auth. Now auth needs to be sent down, right? So here's our app, here's navbar, and we'll say auth equals auth. So we send that down to the navbar, and we receive it this way. And we can say if not auth, and let's just bring in a li. And we'll say login. So that should just create a login button, which of course just brings us here. And again, we probably want to get that over on the right hand side, but it's the same thing as the home screen. And we can say if you're auth, and we'll code this. Bring in an li. And this will wire up our own event handler. It'll go to a method called onClick logout. So we'll need to make this method. Save, home, refresh. Okay, so now that's working. I just got to get the link to say what I want it to say, which is it needs to say log out. Don't forget the text. So there's a logout link. And then maybe this link is only displayed if you're logged in, maybe. We'll have to think about that, but you can see how you can customize a nav bar based on a user being logged in or not pretty simply using these not auth or auth. Now you got the log out button, and if I inspect, fix that error. Each child in the list should have a unique key. So anytime you have a a mapping function. Each unique element, which are these 5 elements here, they have to have a unique key property, and so we'll fix that. And the point I wanted to show here is if I click log out, it says log out clicked, and it navigates you back to the login button, the login screen. So that's what I would expect. Let's fix this error. Each child should have a unique key. So that was in my Walker list here, and the key equals, and Walker they have an ID, but I forget if it's dot. Let me look at the data. I think it's underscore ID. I think underscore ID is the correct dot underscore ID. Because if I go into Walker item, yeah, first name, email, age, gender. Yep, that should work. Going back here, let's clear that out. Okay, now we no longer get that error message. Also the case, just want to try something here. If I bring up Postman, log in. Okay, logged in, my list, page size of 20. Now just to demonstrate, if I throw that in to my URL, oh, gotta log in. Oh, well, that's not gonna work because, again, we're not. Yeah, we gotta fix that to be able to do that. Also, I thought I fixed that. Literally just fixed that. And I boot it down. Did I change something? I'm gonna try. So I think what's happening is it needs to be on the root element. So let me try just getting rid of the div call to. I think what's happening is the key has to go on the parent, and right now that was not the parent. And so I think that was kind of the root of that problem, although I thought I fixed it. So if I go here, log in, okay, it goes away. Which we can just put the key on the parent and that's fine. So bring that back. I'm gonna put the key right here. And I'm gonna fix this once, and this will, okay, that fixes that. Cool. I want to.
Yeah, I guess whichever way she's using this one is fine, because I said she can go grab records real quick. Okay. When she got back, she could do it, so whichever way she's using.
I want to, on my form, log in.
Yeah, and it actually makes sense. That's something I can see.
I'm just going to say value equals. I'm going to hard code a value so I could just click the button. I can always change it.
You did? Really? That's crazy. Yeah, we got quite a bit actually. So,
okay, that way the.
yeah, we're this.
Now, when actually that's interesting. When I hard code it, it doesn't work because I'm not setting the. Yeah, that's not going to work. Okay, I thought I'd shortchange that, but you're not setting the email until you change what's in there, so that didn't work. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to keep typing it. Okay. Log out. Okay, now we say log out, but we need to clear the auth, right? So when we log out, we need to clear auth. So let's do that. So back here, inside of app, here we have a function on login. Make another function on logout. I'm going to set auth to null. Okay, now we have to call this on logout. So the way that we're going to call it is we're going to send it down on logout equals on logout. Send it down to the nav bar. Auth on logout. We could probably skip a step there, but okay, that changes that back to login. Bada bing, bada boom. Okay, let's go back here to our nav bar. All right, so I'll go over the little CSS that Bootstrap uses to get the link on the right hand side, and I'll clean it up a little bit. But there's a nav bar is broken down into a lot of different pieces. This starts right up here with a nav tag, right? So this nav tag, probably we indent. Inside of that, we have an outer div of container fluid. And then you have this button. This is the what I call the hamburger button, right? So when you are on a mobile device, you kind of see the nav bar in that hamburger form. So if I kind of scroll this down, there's your hamburger, right? So that's not always visible, this button, just depending. Then you have this div, which is navbar collapse, which means it can go from one navbar and it can collapse into this navbar, right? So not all navbars collapse, but if you have this class here, then it does. Then what you do is you need two unordered lists, and so our previous navbar, right, just had one unordered list. And so I close that unordered list after the static links that are always there and that are on the left. And then I opened up another unordered list that closed right before the navbar collapsed, right? So you got two inside of navbar collapse, you have two unordered lists, and so I just basically had to add one. And then the only class that you have to add on the first unordered list, you have a navbar nav. And then you add margin end auto. Margin end is on the right, so it basically auto justifies the remaining content off to the right is basically how that works. So margin end auto was the trick to get all of this unordered list basically flushed out to the right. And I use this little code pen, which is just a sandbox where you can show HTML and CSS. And so this was a Bootstrap navbar that I kind of used for that demonstration, and kind of studied it and figured out what needed to be done. Now, this child UL needs to also be navbar nav. So this UL here, I need to add the class name navbar nav. And then that should get rid of that bullet that's hanging off to the, yeah, there we go. There we go. There we go. Awesome. Log out. Okay. Again, we can do some front-end validation next. The register form. This link down here, we could actually make this form to register an account, which we kind of have the back end set up for that. We could do a forgot password. However, typically those are implemented, they're going to send you an email. But we could implement it where a user just, if they're logged in, they could reset their password on the website, is another option. So a lot of things to get to here. Let's do some front-end validation. So this is going to be on our login form. And this is going to be kind of similar to what you did with vanilla JavaScript, where you just kind of manually wrote your own validation logic. And so to do that, I will do it right here. I'll write make a variable, and I'm going to use probably a different syntax that is becoming a little more popular. It's really good for shorthand. And so this is just, this is a ternary, right? And so you're evaluating if email is falsy. If that's true, you say email is required. Otherwise, we'll set email error to blank. Okay, so let's just start off with something simple like this. This is a ternary operator. It's essentially an if-else. And you say, okay, is this true? Is email falsy? If so, if this evaluates to true, then you're going to give an error message of email required. Otherwise, email error will just set to an empty string. And here, when they try to submit the login, we'll say if email error is truthy, then we're going to set error to the email error. And return. So what this will do is it'll skip the rest. If you return out of the function, it will not execute any of the remaining function. And so it'll never hit our database, it'll never hit our server. If this is true, we set an error message, and that error message should say email is required, and that's basically if email is left blank. And so again, this is what is the benefit here is we don't have to hit the back end for validation. We can handle some validation errors on our front end. Start there. There you go. You get email is required, or you could say whatever, email cannot be left blank. Okay, so that's just a little bit more efficient because we're not hitting the back end. You can expand this validation logic a little bit. Go to the front end. So this ternary, the syntax, you've probably seen ternaries before. In fact, I know you've seen them before, but you might not have seen them chained. And so the chain would be something like after this else, so this colon kind of represents the else block. You could ask another question. You could say, if the email doesn't include an @ symbol. So that's your question. If that's true, then you say email must include @ symbol, @ sign. Otherwise, if this is false and this is false, then you assign it to blank. Now, if I say A, now you see email must include @ sign. So you know that's coming from our front end. Now if I more or less do a regular, then you know we're getting through, so that's all good. We can do the same thing with our password. Const password error equals not password question mark. Password cannot be left blank or empty. And then down here, else if password error, set error, password error, and return. Now you're only going to get one at a time. Like if you have an email error, then you might have to click submit again and see the password error. You know, it's not perfect, but password cannot be left blank. The other rule, and I'd have to check our back end, but I think we said it has to be 8 characters in length. So else password dot length less than 8 question mark this or that. Password must be at least 8 characters. So just kind of, again, some vanilla JavaScript doing some front-end validation. And then if those errors exist, when they go to click the submit button, you're going to get error messages. Now if I say 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, then you get email or password incorrect. That's coming from the back end. That needs to come from the back end. If you put it in good, then you're good. Okay, ready to roll, Grant?
Yep, I'm ready.
All right. A lot of things to work on. Want to show another dependency called React Icons. This is pretty neat, these React Icons. Because React Icons are a single library with all the other icons in it. And so maybe you're familiar with Font Awesome. It includes Font Awesome. And so here's all the icons for Font Awesome that you could bring in. If you go to the docs and search for Facebook, go to icons, Facebook. And this is typically how you bring it in HTML. You know, you got to import the scripts. And then you bring in this Facebook icon with an I tag. And we're going to do it in React, and it's probably going to be a little bit differently than this.
I don't know. Do you recall, is that something that was covered in the third chapter of the second?
Because we're doing it through this library of React icons.
Those are the things that.
But what's nice about making these icons is that they basically act like text, and so you can color them like text, you can size them like text, you can place them like text. And so, anyways, back to React icons. So that's Font Awesome. I've been a fan of Bootstrap icons, and so this is just built right into Bootstrap. And if you go to the Bootstrap docs, you go icons right here, there's a whole another set of icons. And so you could see all these different icons, and I only know a couple different ones. But here, let's go ahead and install React icons on our front end and bring in an icon. This is kind of cool. Let's call it install React icons. And let's go to, maybe there's like a, and so I'm not sure if there's typically an icon.
So I send my course instructor an email.
Let's maybe do the door open.
Got that indication. So
And so that'll be like the on the login button. So boot it back up. And let's go to our login form.
Oh, I don't know the answer to that question.
So FA is font awesome. So FA door open is the name of this icon. FA door open. And let's see. You can see here, example usage is exactly what we're going for. So this is kind of where I got this from now. So now we could just use that as a tag.
Okay, so that's what they're asking. They're asking that they already have the
FA door open, so let's go down
whatever you want to call it in your
to our login button.
folder, which I've seen. Is that the one they're using? It is. Okay.
There we go. Little fun awesome icon in there. So just following FA door open instead of hyphens, you're using kind of that camel notation. So maybe This is the free one. Obviously, we can't do any of the pros. Let's just do classic. Let's just do another. Let's just do one more for the sake of doing one more. With a hyphen, so it'll be FA magnifying glass. I'll give you the whole list of what's available. Imported as FA. Did I have a typo? Imported as, it was not found. FA. Well, there you go. There's your list. I assumed that that was in there.
They can start using that.
Might not be an option in there. FA glasses. So you get to play around with that, with all those icons, but just showing you how they work and that they work is what I'm going for here. So there's your glasses. And I thought that you would just be able to find any of the free ones. Maybe it was the versions. Maybe I was on a wrong version. Because there's version 5 and version 6. So if you import something incorrectly, like I tried to, it'll give you a list of what's correct. And all of those should work for you. And there's other libraries, and you could use anything that's out there. Okay, close, 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 close. Bring it back to the 2 tabs. Let's go ahead and make a register. We'll make a new component. We'll call it register form JS.
By the way, what you said about that entity is in the correct location.
Okay, so there's our register form.
So you said,
Back here.
you said, I apologize for the delayed response. I didn't know if you had the correct answer. I said, you're the instructor, so there's no really incorrect answer.
Maybe you're, you know what I'm saying? Rag back.
Now, maybe it's a delayed response. Let me ask you.
Which is
Bring that in,
actually
register
then,
form.
I was saying that I was trying to give more clear information. I see what you're saying.
Probably don't need
class, so you have to kind of have that mentality, better for the background, kind of treat it as your
Okay, so there's register form,
two.
It's my domain.
and if they navigate to slash
I'm not sure how I got evil because I said you would.
user register, I suppose.
Right, it just says.
So then in our nav bar, no, this was in our, not in our nav bar, this is in our login form. We had a link that says register somewhere. Don't have an account. Here's sign up. So we're going to refactor this to a link. Import link from React router DOM.
That's group policies tomorrow.
This becomes a link tag to user register, close link. Link to user register. So then that should take us to user register, which brings up the register form. There we go. Okay, now this register form, I just want to have the same look as my login form. So let's rip the HTML off of here, paste it, and make changes. So delete the on change, delete the on change, delete the on change, delete the, no, delete the button. Well, this will be a register button, so we'll keep the button. Get rid of the success and error, we might bring those back. And then this will say to already have an account. Already have an account. And then we need to bring in link. So up here, import link from React router DOM. Already have an account. Link to the root to log in. Okay. Already have an account. Oh, did I make that change on the wrong? Oh no, it's the right form. It just looks just like the login screen. Okay, so we gotta change this to say register. Register new account. And then we gotta look at what this login button says. Sign up. Okay. Cool stuff. What do we need to register a new account? So let's go to users, email, password. That's it. Probably a confirm password. And if I recall correctly, the roles are empty by default.
Yeah.
All right. So email, text email, password. Probably want to have a confirm password. Probably can get rid of the forgot password on this one. Let's do a confirm password. Okay, so let's wire up an event listener there for the sign up button. I always want my console on the bottom.
Thank you.
So make a function called onClick function onClick register EBT. And let's cancel EBT for default. Okay, doing good. Let's make some hooks for these fields. Okay. The ball game?
Yeah, pardon me.
Yeah.
He said that Donovan, the best thing, he's the best hitter in all the National Leagues this year first. I was like, are you kidding me?
Sometimes he doesn't play with like this high
Yeah,
and I feel like he's clearing a feed.
yeah.
All right, just to test all three of these are working, I'm just going to put email here, password, and confirm password. All there. A, B, C.
I see from that perspective, he's got a grow a little bit more.
Oh, did I say on click or on change? Oh, I said on, I always do that, on change. On change. On change. There we go. Doing good. I'm gonna pause for just a minute if that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're ready to bring in Axios. And so you can kind of lean on what we did. Here we have a submit. We call Axios, so we got to first bring in Axios from Axios. This piece right here, we might refactor into an environment variable, into a .env. But for now, we could just leave it. Method of post, that'll be the same. The data will be the same. I mean, this becomes, Axios becomes the easy part of this assignment at this point where we've already kind of done what this piece. But basically the configuration of Axios remains the same in this case. There will obviously be some different scenarios. So register form. Let's bring in Axios. Okay, so now we need the back end for the register new user. Now, just glancing here, I don't think we accepted a role anymore. Let me look at my back end. I don't think when it comes to our users. Here's a register. Maybe that was on the other one where we didn't automatically assign a role. But here we give them an ID, we give them a whatever's in the rec body, whatever that comes across. Let's go to our new user schema and look at that. Oh, we do. In this particular one, we required a role. And so I don't think that was the case on our other one. We made the role optional, but let's go ahead and just wire that in because it is required by our back end, which will be a good excuse to do a drop down. Password, confirm password, and let's do a bootstrap drop down. So that's cool. So pretty standard drop down. Bring that in to our front end. Paste. Format document with. Prettier, I guess. Class name. That's the only class. Let's see. Default select example. Open the select menu. We could do some validation for this one just to make sure that they're selecting an option, or we can just kind of default to an option 1, which again are acceptable values on the back end are developer. So value developer. We need 2 more options. 1, 2. Product manager is one of them. And last but not least is technical manager. Okay. Let's bring in a role, const role, set role. Okay, so on here, maybe on change, DVT. Now I'm not sure if the target value is the option value, but we are going to try. And if not, I'll do a little digging and figure that out. Now, let's just glance at what that looks like. Let's refresh. And doesn't look like any errors on the outset. Let's go back here. Go back here. Need some margin between these two. And maybe because right now we have the default thing as developer. So let's put role, I don't know, let's just put role right here just to test it. So it says developer. Aha. Easy enough. Easy enough. So now we can delete role.
Maybe they were in that moment in time. I'm sure. But maybe all the things in high school.
And on click register. We're ready to call Axios. Again, I kind of just want to refactor this to have a default that's not developer, but no big deal. Here is our Axios URL. So let's paste that in. Comma, options, method of post, data is email, password, and role. Now we need to, maybe do some more. We could do some more validation on if password not equal to confirm password.
Maybe that cheap that would be as opposed to
Well, the nice ones are 26.
yeah, they're the ones with all the speakers and all that stuff.
Let
Yeah, spider ones.
confirm password error. Kind of another way of set confirm password error. Passwords must match. If confirm password error, const error, set error. Throw a little where would this look good at? Let me look at the form. Up at the top, we'll just say at the very top above register, new account, we'll put errors there. Maybe a H3 class name. So here we say if error and H3 error, class name, bootstrap class of text danger. So making sure the passwords match. Okay. Then you get a response.
Somebody's interested.
Catch. So here we have a success const res data message. Uh-oh. Oh, res arrow. There we go. And here we'll put a little success and H3. So we got a spot for an error message. We got a spot for a successful registration. In the event here, we set the success now on the invalid. Now we also probably want to do something with this off payload. We should get a token back. So we'll want to do that, set off and all that. So on login, check that out. So we'll kind of mimic that. Otherwise, set error response data message. I want to look at the message. Let's go over my back end. We do have a message, and there's a token in there, but I might need to refactor that a little bit. Similar to when I logged in. We did message, and then it was an object message.
That's really nice.
Yeah. I'm going to copy that from the login route, and that was all res JSON. I'm just going to paste that right there. Refactor res dot status 200.
So what's the something that I went to an arena football league game here in St. Louis? What is it? Family Arena. Yeah. Oh, got it. Okay. So. Gotcha. So what was the arena played in? Family Arena.
Okay. That should still work. If I go back here and register. Okay. Okay, so there's my new user that I just put in. So that worked from the Postman, so that refactoring the back end is good. And now I'm getting the message object with all of its properties. It should allow me to do this. So we got to bring in JWT decode from JWT decode on the register form. And then get the payload. So that remains the same. And then we log in the user. So we're going to have to pipe down the method on login from app. And bring it in. So that when you register, you also log in. But I'm going to hold off on all this. Oops. One piece at a time. You don't allow drinks by the computer?
No, we don't care.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I didn't know. I don't know the rules out here.
That's why we're playing with you.
Got it. So let's see what breaks, because we wrote a lot of code. So something's going to break. Here, I'll just set success to empty, set error to ERR dot message. Double equal. In fact, we wrote too much code without testing it. So I don't like that. So let's go back here, refresh, email, password. So that obviously shouldn't work. Okay. Email ID, role, and token. I thought I commented that out. Let's check that out one more time. I'll put in the same password. Okay. Little different. Let's see if our back end's still up and okay. Insert acknowledge true. See if these users are going in. Oh, I did put one in. Okay. One of those worked and one did not work. So the one that worked must have been the first one because I changed this one to quality analyst. Oh, I know. On this piece, I know. On this, I forgot to return. So there's one thing. I forgot to return. Now I'm going to delete my Gmail account. Oh, there's the second one, quality analyst. I put them both in. Okay, so we're back down to my one user. So it's working and not working at the same time. Explain that one. Let's put Gmail back in. 2 passwords that don't match. And passwords must match. Okay. Passwords match. Okay. So it still puts that user in, but it gives us a nasty error message. So let's take a look at that. Res data message. Okay, so res data message. Again, from our back end, when we register a user, you just have to say maybe the email. So let's say message.email successfully registered, something like that. So let's go back here. .email. So we'll do ... Okay, just do that. Okay, let's clear these out. Let's go to register. Sign up. No errors. Gmail. Sign up. Hey, successfully registered. And if we look, there he is. So the error I was getting was that I was creating this object on the back end and I wasn't reading the object properly on the front end. And I don't need to debug user router right there on the back end. Okay, now let's continue.
Could you show what you did to
Yep.
make it work? I didn't.
So what I did was I had to refactor the set success message. This res.data. So, the data is object that's created for you, and then in there, the message is what we created on the back end. So when I registered a user, I made this message object, message property that has a sub object with the email in it. So message.email. So you just can't reference message. I had to reference message.email, which contains the data of the user's email. So if kind of step one was refactoring the back end to kind of send the data back this way.
Right.
And then step two on the front end was to receive the message.email. And then I said successfully registered.
Okay. I'm getting a 400 error now. I'm trying to see what if I have a typo somewhere.
Okay. I'll pause and take a look. Okay, we got Grant squared away. One thing as we were troubleshooting with Grant's situation, I'm not handling errors specifically from Joy cleanly, and so if we get a back-end validation error message, it's just really generic and it doesn't make any sense. So Grant was having some validation errors with Joy, and it was coming back like just status code 400, I think. Anyways, it wasn't giving the error message. So in both of these cases, just setting the error message like this, not enough. We can give better error messages if we parse down into it. And then another thing on our back end, here, Grant, do you have this line on your server JS? Just curious.
I don't think I do. I think I have that on the issue tracker.
Yeah, I noticed because your backend crashed, and this is kind of a way of, well, as it says, stop exceptions from crashing. And so you might want to consider adding that line. So, back to the front end. We have new users registering now on the register form. And here message.token is where our auth token is. So we should be able to bring this back. We should be able to bring all this back. And now when we register, we'll call on login. And on login, we'll navigate to the Walker list. And it should log us in. So now when we register, it should navigate us to the listing page. So if I go back to my users, let me delete my Gmail account. Let me register my Gmail account again. And we're logged in. Maybe we can put the user that's logged in. Maybe we can put their email address up in the nav bar. So let's go to the nav bar. We've got auth. And so auth.email is what we want to put in the nav bar.
Okay.
And so here we do something like this. Wait a sec. It needs a root, which is why it doesn't like this. And then maybe we'll just say auth.email. Okay, not the prettiest thing in the world, but you can see who's logged in now. Maybe if we say just to give it the same styling. There we go.
Now I have
Click it, takes it to that. Maybe we just go there. Clicking it doesn't really do anything. Now, now I'm logged in as my Gmail. Now I'm logged into my Rankin account. Good stuff. We'll take a look at some of those error messages from Joy. Look at cleaning those up. Let me see if I can replicate kind of a similar thing that we had going on. If I log out and I go to register an account, so we should have a back-end validation rule that says so many characters. So if I say that and I just boom, boom. This is the error code that we were getting. Request failed with status code 400. And what we found was that was ultimately Joy on the back end kind of blocking that. And that was, let's see if I can traverse this. We get valid body, new user schema. And the new user schema says minimum of password length of 5. So 400 means it's a problem with the data from the client, which is correct, but it's not the most useful error message. So if I can dig into this, let's go network tab and clear that out. If I click sign in again, here's our register error. And maybe we would just start by doing this. Let's in our catch block, because we're just doing err.message, but let's console log err. Let's do that. Let's log the error message and see if we can't dig into this. And so here we can see a message, which is what we were plopping out. But if we look at the response and data, well, way down here, we can get to the message, which you could see there's a details array sub-0. Password length must be at least 5 characters long. So way down here in the data we get back from the server, so response, data, error, details, we have an array from Joy. So ultimately, we probably want to show that error message in the event that we get something from Joy. It's coming back in this details object. Whoops. Let's look a little closer. So response, data, error. So we'll do something like this. If ERR response, actually, let's store this in a variable. Okay, if there's a details object basically on that path, if there's a details object, let's bring in Lodash. It was an array, so we're going to map, Lodash map, the details array, and for each error, we will put it in the div x.message. And this is errors from Joy. So in the event it doesn't work, again, we kind of traverse down that hierarchy. We found a details array. If that details array exists, set the error, and for each error message in the array, put that into its own div. And let's see if that in fact works. Okay, yes, we're there, except for that goes in curly. Haha. Now, before, what we were doing was not an error from Joy, but it was just our error code that we were getting back from our back end. And so in the event, let's go to our back end. And here's our register. For some reason, if a new user was not created, I'm not sure the condition, for whatever reason, that would run. So for right now, we'll just do something like, we'll do one or the other. This is from Joy, this is any other error message, and this might not still be good enough, but we took a step in the right direction. And we'll do the same thing on our login form. Except for here, it's going to be a little bit different. Bring in Lodash. Okay, let's go log in. You know, we just kind of handled this differently. On the login form, we did some front-end validation, so it should never reach the back-end validation. So, you know, making sure the password length was 8 characters, right? So we handled validation a little differently on the front end than we did on the register. On the register, if I go to register, we were letting passwords of one character hit the back end. Of course, we know how to fix that, but I wanted to I wanted to handle validation errors from Joy on our front end as well. So I guess there's multiple approaches. The best approach is to handle front end validation, front end and back end, right? So we did get that Axios error, but we printed out that. Now, if I go to register a user that already exists, let's see how that handles that. Database, collections, users. Okay. Okay, so request failed with status code 500. That's a server-side error, right? 400 means client-side error. You didn't give me enough credentials, or you didn't give me the right Joy information. 500 server error. This is user already exists, right? So this is a different problem.
This isn't the process that.
This is ultimately coming from here, saying the user already exists. So let's take a look at 500 Axios error. Response data. Response data. Error. So that's a string, right? So that's a string. So that's why this data, response data error, is a string. So that's why we're not getting the actual data that we want. So here's how we're going to handle that. So on our front end, response data is a string. So this is on register. So response data error is a string. So I could say this is server errors. If res error type of res error is string. Set error to res error. So we should be able to extract that string. Let me follow this down. Response data error. Response data error. If type of okay, so that's what I expect. User with email already exists. Now, it must be overriding it. Else else if, because it's overriding it. There we go. There we go. Cool. So now we're handling server errors, we're handling errors from Joy, and kind of your else. This is basically what we had originally. So now, turns out handling errors can be way more complicated than the success. Right, success, you just put the user into the database, maybe navigate them somewhere else, kind of set their auth. But these errors a little bit more complicated. Let's do that on let's bring that into the login form. Basically, should be the same thing. I think this err.response, because this is like what's coming back, data message. That's what's coming back from the back end in the event of bad login. Okay. Delete my user. Go to login. Sign up. Backend. Says register form. Each child should have a unique key prop. Let's fix that. Again, clear. Go login. Register. Login. Register. Password must be 5 characters long. There we go. Looking good. Okay, so the next logical step for me is to make an edit mode for a dog walker individual, right? So all of these records could be edited in the database, and so each one of these fields could have a button, right, to edit them. Now I'll add the button. And the other thing that I still need to fix, and maybe that's today, maybe that's tomorrow, but refreshing this needs to persist the credentials. But it makes sense probably to go ahead and make an edit here, and then maybe even a delete button. And so let's go ahead in our components, let's make a dog walker editor.js. So we'll make a component called dog walker editor. And inside of app, this will be good because we can use what we learned in Express, where we said, hey, we have a walker / walker ID. When you go to somewhere like that, let's bring in a dog walker editor. Curly goes here. And then / there we go. So if you go to /walker with a walker ID, brings up dog walker editor. So we should be able to go walker, and then brings up a dog walker editor. Now, obviously that's not a valid ID, but it's reading it as a variable and saying, okay, well, that's got to be the dog walker ID. And it's taking us to that component, which is what I wanted to test. Next, each one of our list items here needs a button to edit that record. So on our dog walker item, no, yes. Let's do an li. Buttons. What do we want? How about button info for the edit? Button info. Edit. Okay, a little edit button. Doesn't have a click event yet. And while we're here, maybe a delete button. Button warning or danger. And how about padding start 1, padding start 2, No, margins start 1. There we go. Okay, so now when we click this, we need to navigate to the walker and then put the ID up in the URL. So not too hard. Maybe instead of making this a button, let's do this. Let's import link from React Router DOM. Let's make this a link. Should still be styled just the same. Okay, so that looks just the same. Let's say 2. And template string slash. So we're on list. We'll go root. Okay, so you can kind of see up in the lower left, it didn't do what I wanted. So maybe if I just go link to Walker ID, it's still list. Link to, well, // That takes me up to local host. Okay. I don't love how I got there, but I got there.
Would you mind just pausing your code for just a second?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. So again, if I just did this, link to, it keeps me in the list, Walker list. I don't want that. Been doing relative pathing forever. Root slash. Yeah, this is just working differently. So I'm just going to kind of keep it what I had it. // Walker / ID takes me there, which takes me to the dog walker editor. And notice the ID is up there. And that's the trick. Now we have the ID up there. And so we can, on our dog walker editor, so now that we created this link to put the ID up there, it would be nice if we didn't have to hit the database again. But I'm kind of at the this link isn't a component that we created. This comes from React Router DOM, so I'm not sure that we can access, props to kind of send the walker over. Like, it would be nice to say something like walker equals walker, like that. And then we just send the user over, but it's not a subcomponent of link. So that's the problem, is we can't, when we send the user over that way, it's not like we can, it's not a child component. So I can't, I got too much open right now. It would be nice to just bring in walker this way and maybe say, walker dot first name. And that would be nice, but I don't think this is going to work. Yeah, right away. Can't read first name, so we're gonna have to hit the database again, which is fine. So log in. Brings us here. That doesn't work, so let's take that out. There is no doing this. Instead, what we have to do is we have to read that ID out of the URL. And the way that we're going to do that is with use params from React Router DOM. And we named this parameter walker ID. So in our editor, walker ID equals use params. So this is the magic to read the walker ID out of the URL, and now we should be able to walker ID. We should have the walker ID, and then we hit the database to pull the walker information back out. So there we go. So what's up in the URL is now in a variable. And what do you not like? Okay, first name, yeah, we got rid of that. Okay, so now we'll use effect so that when the page loads, we can get the data out of the database. And in use effect, that's in import use effect from React. Okay, so there's use effect. And we're going to rerun this if the walker ID changes or the auth changes. And we don't have auth, so we'll pipe in auth into dog walker editor. Auth equals auth. Okay, so now we got to hit the Axios backend. And give it the options. And this is to get a pet by, or get a walker by ID. I guess I didn't have this one saved, so cancel. Yeah, we don't need to save it. Don't save. Okay. Let's get walker by ID. So there we have that. Okay, that dog walker is not found, but let's pull up a dog walker. Let's go. Let's get a valid ID. Let's click edit. There's your ID. And let's paste that in. Okay. So let's copy that URL into our Axios here. This becomes, we need to make this a template string with the backticks. And then this becomes walker ID. And then the method is a get, and we need to include our auth and headers, authorization, backtick bearer, auth dot token. Auth.token. So that should allow us to hit the database again. I'm jumping all around. This should allow us to hit the database again, getting a walker by the ID, then a response. Do this, catch, PRR, do that, semicolon, we need to bring in Axios. Let's bring in a hook. Use state const walker set walker equals use state null and set walker to be the res data that comes back from Axios. And if it works, we should be able to say walker dot first name. Yeah, Cookie. Cookie was the first name of the person we clicked. Walker dot last name. Bingo.
Could you hold on just a second? I'm checking.
Tricky. Zoom. And so we left off with our editor, and again, just to kind of keep it consistent look, we'll pull in the form from the login form and just kind of make all these changes, which is really just this custom gradient. So okay, so this H2 will be edit and kind of delete that. I'm not sure if I accidentally deleted some text there. FA glasses is not defined. Really, I'm just going to delete it all in between that div. I'm just okay. So not much going on. Let's look at the data in the database. What might we want to edit? First name, last name. Or age. If you can edit one of these things, you can edit any one of these things. So let's bring in first name, last name, and age. So all this is in a card in one big column. And this should be Walker.firstname. Okay, on change. Now the syntax for this is pretty interesting. So const new name equals EBT target value. And what we do is we call set walker and previous state. So you say like previous state arrow.
Right. So all of a sudden, all these problems come up. It's like,
Spread the previous state. And then you set first name equal to new name. And so this syntax starts with the previous state of your walker. And it might be that you put the word walker instead of previous state in here. I'm going to check this out. But this is just the general syntax. In that video from WebDev Simplified kind of did a good example of why you need to spread the previous state. It's weird. You just can't update the field individually. You have to spread the previous state and then update the field. So on change, and so this walker dot underscore first name, if this is, yeah, cool. So let's see, you provided a value without an on change. Well, we do have an on change now. So that should go away. And let's clear that out. Let's log in. Okay, we go to edit cookie. Okay, cannot read properties of null reading first name. Cannot read properties of null first name.
that's the first thing I got. It was short, like first thing to do, make sure it's lights on everything, right?
Okay. So putting the question mark there got me past that. So let me, somehow I got logged out. So let's log in. Let's wash that. Okay. Log out. Okay. You doing all right, Grant?
Yeah, I think I got it.
Okay. Yeah, maybe I need to append this, right? So it's like, hey, put a first name in the value if it's there, which it should be there. But you kind of saw that error on my end where it's like, hey, can't read first name of null. And it just has to do with what they call like the mounting of the data and like all these components and, the life cycle of these components and putting them into memory, and then you're changing them and then unmounting them. And so it's ultimately, I think it's gonna be okay if we do this question mark. So maybe we'll copy and paste that and say last name txt last name txt last name, and we'll say edit last name. So we'll make a function edit last name, takes the event object, const new name, Okay, pretty similar deal here. To change a field on an object, we're going to do that. And this becomes Walker last name on the right one. Walker last name. There we go. So let's step through. Let's log in. Let's edit cookie. Obviously, we're not saving anything, right? So we need a save button. Otherwise, nothing's going to save in the database. So we're getting there. And let's also make it so you can edit the age. Again, copy and paste. Text age. Age Walker dot age text age edit age edit age is not defined. I think those parentheses, that extra set might not be required. I think I just spread the previous state and set the age equal to new age. Nope, they are required. Parenthesis. Okay. Maybe some margin between these controls. So we'll say class name, margin bottom 3 on our divs here. Separating those out just a little bit. Okay. Okay, we got a button. It's a submit button. It's inside of a form. We call this function called save walker. We prevent the default form behavior, and we console log it. And we'll put a class name button primary, button large. Save walker clicked. And so here's our Axios call. So let's maybe copy, and I just realized I didn't flush that error message out. Something to swing back and do. Let's paste, and let's look at our URL for the edit update dog walker. So this is a post. So method of post, 5000 API walkers walker ID. We'll include the headers, and we need to include the data. Now here, updating the dog walker. So if we have headers, let's see. So method, I'm going to do data after headers. So we'll do dog walker editor, comma, data. First name is walker dot first name. Last name is walker dot last name. Age is walker dot age. Okay, if it's successful, we'll just console log res data, and ultimately we'll maybe redirect or something, but let's just for now, we'll make a temporary success, set success. And we'll call set success to res.data. And here we say success and why do we leave a C off? Class name text success. So if it's successful, we're gonna just plop up a little success message. Otherwise, console log error. So our backend should send a message. Let's look on the users updating. Probably need to redo something with the auth token. Here's res dot status. This is res dot status 200 on our back end. This is res dot status. We'll just say 400. These are not updated. So we're going to say user updated or user not updated. And let's see what broke. Okay, so let's log out. All right. So, here's what we'll do. List dog walkers not logged in. So let's log in on Postman. Okay. So let's update cookie. Update dog walker here. And we got, let's just update age from 41 to 42. Uncheck, uncheck. Age from 41 to 42. Send. Age is not allowed. This is why we do it on Postman first. So that's a update user schema, email, password. This is changing, right? So this is what are allowed. So let's do first name, last name, and age, joy dot number. How about that? So let's log in my user again. List all my dog walkers. Update dog walker. So update dog walker. Update user schema. Update user schema. So still saying age not allowed. So API walkers ID with a post. Router post. Saying age is not allowed. We now have age. Maybe I needed a resave. You getting the same thing?
I'm a little behind actually, so
Okay.
I'm
All right. Well, good. I'm gonna pause. Well, my silliness. These properties don't belong on users. Those are registered users. Those are walkers. I need to go into walkers and update walker schema. There we go. And first name, last name, and age. I needed that here in the updating walker schema. That's what we're trying to update. That was my one mistake. So now age should be allowed. So if I pull Postman back in, now it says Walker updated, and we see cookie has been updated via Postman. So that's step one. And then step two is to test it from the front end. Cookie is 42. Set it her to 43. And it says Walker updated. So maybe we log out and log back in and see if cookie is 43. Okay. Cookie is not 43. Let's see if she's 43 in the database. First name. Okay, good. So we're getting a success. Message. So I'm going to put I know it's already right here. I'm just going to put it right there too. That's huh. Let me take a closer look. So maybe on my save walker, before my Axios call, it should say 43. Sure does. So let's go to the back end. It says Walker updated object. So let's go to the function. Okay. Let's go to our update Walker function in the database. See if it's reaching it all the way there. Okay.
It's getting another 400 error right now. I'm not even getting to the postman.
Okay. I'll be right with you here.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, here it is. Just like last time on the users, we had to add the router use. I have to do the same on Express JSON. There we go. Gets me every time. Let's see if that's it. There it goes. Okay. So that was my problem. Why it was working from Postman and not working from the browser. Now, a listener indicated an asynchronous response by returning true, but the message channel closed before a response was received. That's a new one. But okay, we're cooking there. All right, Grant, you got a different one, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna pause. Okay, so kind of reviewing, my issue was back to here, allowing JSON from a front end browser. Now, let's just do a little more testing. Let's update an email. No, let's update a first name. Okay. Let's update a last name and an age. Looking good, looking good. Okay, so on this edit control, I'll get rid of this extra. I'll get rid of this extra age. That's never my problem. And we don't need to do anything with OS because we're not editing the user. We're editing a dog walker. You pick up on our website. We're making a marketplace for dog walkers, people with dogs, dog walkers.
Oh, that's cool.
Meet the two. Yeah.
That's kind of cool, though.
Yeah. Well, it's a ripoff of Rover.com. Rover.com already does it.
Yeah, but still.
But still.
It's still kind of neat.
Yeah.
Well, Rover.com does it where you are looking for somebody to like walk your dog or sit with your, or let your dog out during the day, those kinds of things. If you're trying to get dog walkers to meet up with each other, that's different.
Oh no, it was that idea of like people who want to walk dogs and people with dogs.
Oh, okay.
But maybe it could be. Maybe it could just be a dog walking club.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It's like you're looking for people who have, dogs with good temperaments and want to find other people with dogs.
See, that's unique.
Yeah.
That's unique. So now what? All right, really, I guess what would be left is to navigate back to the list once you save the dog walker and it is successful. So let's bring in here, use navigate. Okay. So I thought it was on the login form that we had navigate. Maybe on the register form. Where did we navigate before?
I just got an app.
In app. Okay, thank you. There's your use navigate. Const navigate equals use navigate. Const navigate equals use navigate. And then we can call navigate and then just pass the route. So on dog walker editor.
No,
I mean, you'll care, just not as much.
I want you to have a good experience.
And so then console log set success. But ultimately, we don't need a set success because we're moving the page. You could have a you could have a success message on the navigate page that pops up, and that's something that we can learn to do with. I'll show you how to do that tomorrow. It's called a toast, like a little pop-up, like saying "Walker saved." So we'll just do that.
Unless you remember, you only have CCA like 4 or 5.
And then you should be able to just view the data that has been changed. You're going back, you're going back, you're going back. Save Walker, 41, singular name. No errors in the console. There we go.
When you're trying to do them a favor, trust me, they'll talk and somebody else will know about it.
There we go.
Yeah, so it's just
Last one should not be that hard, and this will be the last one for today, is a delete, right? Because we've done insert new records. We've obviously read records on our dog list. And we've edited records. And all that's left is delete. And that will actually probably be not that much code. Yeah.
it's nice because you don't have to just like it's it. Yep.
It's been another 3-hour video. All right. Last but not least, we go back.
I almost feel like they should have like a full option. Partially absent. Pardon, right? I'm serious. So, like, let's say I'm a student, I know that I'm not going to be here by 15, but I'm going to be here by 8:30, I haven't got my everybody yet. What motivation do I have to invest in? I'm already counting as absent.
True. Yes, that's true.
Okay, I had to pause and have a quick discussion.
Obviously, you wouldn't want to document work ethic points.
Here's our
We're missing for that reason. Right?
edit
so those are the
button.
things that you'll start, you know, in case you forget.
Here's our
These days,
delete.
you know what's going on. If you don't remember, you can say, you know what's going on that time. We just did document something that you work. Give me your documentation. I don't need to keep it. I just want to see it real quick. And then I'll take the points.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah,
Okay.
there's a lot of things that feel like as long as it's consistent. That's what
Now this-
consistency across the board.
You'll get a lot of students that will ask you if they just want to get
One thought would be, before you delete data, prompting the user, are you sure you want to delete data? I'm going to change this back to a button. I don't really need to navigate anywhere. I mean, we could navigate to another page. We could navigate to another link where we say, are you sure you want to delete this walker?
If I was
Or we could just delete the walker, right? So I guess to be thorough, we can go ahead and make a
having the flu, whatever, your sickness I had could be spread right? You're saving information. So you're there at 5:45 in the morning, skating over 45 minutes, waiting to get released because the clinic sick.
or not. I mean, I'm going back and forth. Let's just do it kind of quick and dirty here. Button.
So
On click.
there's always the thing of, oh, well, you know, that shit back is constantly on the sick call. Those are the only times you could. So if you had any ill at all, you were going to look at it as shit back for a short period of time because you were basically alive. Sick call. So I'm glad that they don't have to do it that crap.
Yeah. So is it? See, because I always that person was really worried about doing this. That worried about times when they don't worry about it. And so is it like that? The other people are just not like, why are they slacking?
Yes, absolutely.
Or why are they actually slacking?
Use a different syntax. On, delete, walker.
When I was in Jordan, we just recently came on staff sergeant, so they put me as a platoon sergeant.
Different syntax, same functionality, creating a function called onDeleteWalker, UVT, prevent, default, console log, delete, walker, click. Okay.
So my guy.
So here's our button.
When I'm being in the IT sector, if I'm not doing anything, that's a good thing. Like, unless obviously I'm not using that. So if I'm not doing anything, then this one has
Oop. Log in.
To me, that's a no-brainer.
Delete walker clicked, delete walker clicked, delete walker clicked.
I had this on my first class walk, and that trailer was probably a
Cool.
little bit wider than this 2 tape up, so it was a container. It was a 10-foot wide.
Bring in Axios.
Back right there, and you watch the front, and then I see you're watching YouTube, Facebook, one way. And he looks at me and he's like, "You guys should."
So what do we need to delete? Delete
And I said,
dog walker by ID.
"God, it's fun."
Just need the ID. We already have the ID. So let's get the route.
That's what I said. You don't get to do it. For one, you don't get to come into my office and tell you guys, I'm not doing the right thing. And treat me including the rank card and trying to look at you guys.
So let's start with
My
this.
guys don't need you. I don't. They have the ability to operate independently. They know what they're doing. They react. Utility doesn't. They don't need to do that training where they're doing wall squats, or learn how to cover seconds of fire.
We don't need any extra data, really.
That's good. It's just like I don't like micromanaging.
So let's paste that. Change the URL to a template string. The method is a delete, and we don't need the extra data. But we do need permissions, which comes in the form of headers. So
You can certainly text me if you got questions.
we need to pipe in auth.
Tell you, still got a lot of that stuff that I from classes. Throw your way.
So dog walker item needs auth. So that comes from dog walker list. Dog walker list has auth.
Yeah, just don't
So let's send auth down. Auth equals auth
Systems issue.
down to the item.
Systems issue.
So down here on the item, we have auth. And now that here, let's give it the right path. API walkers / ID.
So, well, you kind of see how I handle things, but they start going wire, start pushing.
API walkers
Walk to the side, I'm like, start doing my own thing, because I can't.
walker dot
Extra fire before it gets out of control. Well, that's honestly.
I think it's underscore ID.
So that fire back actually is much easier without doing what he was in the wall. But, you know, lesson learned.
Walker email first name should be underscore ID. So I think that's right. Then we get a response, do something with that, or we catch error, and do something with that.
I have them all stored on the D drive. And just copy them and show you how to use the scripts.
That's, the D drive is different from the system drive, right? So if I
The C drive is an SSD.
And
Gotcha, okay, so everything that gets loaded operating system wise is on the mechanical?
Operating system running on an SSD.
Okay, so both the OS and the virtual machine
They're all
are
on the SSD.
Okay.
It's
So I
just
guess my
a
question is
copy.
when we did the.
curious if we bring in navigate
That would be from English.
Then the image is stored on the D.
and use
Does that
navigate.
get rid of the VMs?
I wonder if because
Yes.
dog walker item
Only because I did the backup before I.
is a child of
Gotcha.
dog walker list. And if we just re-navigate to dog walker list, if it just kind of refreshes it without the data. Again, I think you want to give some sort of confirmation like user deleted, but I just want to try const navigate equals use navigate.
Oh, the image. The VMs and the images.
But you always have a backup up here, so, you know, for some reason.
Use navigate
Drive, pull that, right
/ walker / list, or it's navigate. Otherwise, console log er.message.
Yeah.
This might not work.
People keep asking about, hey, I'm running out of time on hot. I don't think it'll do it. Yeah, you're kidding. Right?
Log in. Okay. I knew something would break. So we got the okay, I'm gonna close the editor. I'm gonna close the login form. Keep the list open, the walker item open. I'm gonna close the registration form, close the nav bar. Okay.
Right? I said, like, will you take me 6 months? She said, well, it's you. I was like, yeah, but we can't do that.
So it said delete walker clicked.
So I'm hoping that she can get some that just let's have them in the afternoon.
Now I click to delete
Or we want to go get more time.
cat Lee.
So,
So finally log out, log back in. Okay. Cat Lee's gone. So my delete worked. Just my navigate did not, because I was already on the page. So let's, instead of navigating to the same page we're already on, let's delete Jacob now. and go home. Back to the list, it's gone. Okay. So it's working. Let's take a quick look at our back end. I'm gonna try a little vanilla JavaScript window location reload. I'll try that. Okay. Yeah, the reload worked. We have another error to fix dealing with that, but you can see that user's gone. Okay. And we can notify the user differently too. So this is about as far as I wanted to get for today. We've got more to go tomorrow. We made some pretty good progress. Grant, you all caught up, or you got to see some things?
Yeah, mine's all caught up.
Awesome. All right. Good job keeping up, man. And I guess we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you. See you tomorrow.
All right. Have a good day. Bye.
You too.